Good morning, everyone. It's 8:30. We'll call this morning's meeting of the Clay County Board of Commissioners to order for Tuesday, December 23rd. Our first item is the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Mojo. Any further discussion on the motion? Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Next item is citizens to be heard. Do we have any citizens to be heard on items not on the agenda today? I see none in the audience. Any online?
Nothing, Mr. Chair.
Move on then to the approval of bills and vouchers.
Offer approval to pay the bills, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right, our 8:35 item, we have a Red River Commodities or Communications Grant Update. Good morning.
Good morning. Merry Christmas to all. Thank you for allowing us to be on the agenda. I'm Tom Stanelson, General Manager, CEO of Red River Communications, and I've got a couple people with me. Carrie Kleingartner, who has been here before with me, Marketing Manager, and also to the right there, David Risted. He is our construction or outside plant supervisor, and he'll be directly involved with a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about today. So he's also a Moorhead resident, so just wanted to make you all aware and do an introduction for him. The first slide we have up there, or the first part of your packet, if you will, is a map there of what I would call purple, and that is the Federal Reconnect Grant that we call it South Moorhead, Sabin, North Comstock area. And our update on that is we believe that construction will begin in early construction season this year. We'd be comfortable talking about the June construction, possibly a little sooner. A lot of finalization type things going on with that. First, I would comment that most all of that infrastructure will be in public right away. And I believe all those permits, C&E is the engineering firm out of the Fargo-Moorhead area that's handling that for us. And of course, David works with them closely. But a lot of things have been taking place in that regards. I know Ms. Mojo is in that letter that we have done our first round of informational going out to the potential customers within that grant area. Just really general information. We didn't have timetables, did not feel comfortable in that letter discussing that. But our sales efforts will begin about mid-January, and we just wanted to make sure you all were aware of those timetables, and that we will have people actually going, visiting people on their farms. It'll be a branded vehicle, Red River Communications, and there will be multiple mailings taking place to that. Yes?
Yeah, I have a question. What's the purple, what's a PFSA?
Proposed Funding Service Area.
Okay, very
That is a government term. Sorry for that, but yeah.
What are the white blanks?
I'm sorry?
What are the white blanks?
Yeah, good question. Those white areas were areas that did not qualify for the grant. So they're, according to the government website at that time, the people within those white areas would have had access to good broadband.
Are they towns?
I apologize, I cannot, they're not towns.
I believe one of the one in the center is a tower site. So a lot of times they will have brought in their own connectivity. David, do you remember what's on the other blocks? I think maybe
Your
there's
microphones
just,
are on green when you talk to it.
yeah, there is potentially just individual farmsteads where people have brought in their own connectivity. This is directly from the FCC broadband data. That's how these grants are determined. So, yeah, the reason that we've got the little blocks cut out is just so that the grant could go through and help fund the whole area. But that doesn't mean that if there is a need for those areas to be served, that we as Red River can't come in and do that on our own funding. It would just not be on the match of the grant.
It would be our intention that they will be served. I just don't want to commit that they're actually part of the 2026 build, if that makes sense to you.
Thank you.
It's a good question. Any other questions about that project? Again, this is a federal project. It's labeled as it's in there. It's a Reconnect Round 5 project. Lots of, we've been in front of you in the past with more border-to-border type funding and so on and so forth. A lot of red tape with federal funding, but we believe we're in good shape, and we believe we'll be able to move forward this year. We would anticipate, I would call 95% completion if we're able to get going like what we intend. I just always leave that. There can be some areas that for some reason we don't get taken care of. That grant would remain open. A couple things. We would not plow fiber to people that do not request the service. The main line will be in at the completion of this project. Anybody within that area would be able to receive fiber with a very small installation, or what we would call a drop, kind of going to that private residence.
So do those lines go up and down every township road then, or how does that work?
A lot of them. I wouldn't want to commit to all of them, but yeah. We did not come prepared. They're still kind of finalizing that, exactly where all those routes would be, running that main cable, but yes, be a lot of it. I believe there's approximately 170 something locations in that purple area.
Yeah, yep.
The other
That's
thing,
what was built into the grant, 171 locations.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I might, we did talk a little bit when you were doing the grant application about where to carve out, and to Commissioner Krabanoff's question, Sabin is just on the northeast part of that one cutout, and then if you look at Highway 75 there, Rustad would be cut out on that, but to your point, we had our first e-learning day, and we were successful in having 2 hours before our internet crashed with 3 kiddos doing e-learning. So within 8 miles of the city of Moorhead, boy, we're, folks are really excited to get that service, particularly me.
We sent the first letter last week, and we've had, it was a very general letter. It wasn't even asking for people to contact or something, but we had quite a few that did. Okay. So we know that there is a need, and we're very excited to be moving forward with this project.
as our efforts ramp up and getting people signed up, we'll make sure somebody reaches out. I'm not sure if the county has offices, shops, locations, or the sheriff and all that. We'll make sure we visit to make sure that any of the needs for the county is taken care of as well. There'll be outreach. I think I had visited with Steve in the past too about possibly doing some joint outreach and so on and so forth. If you do get hit up with any questions from your patrons or whatever, just direct them to call, reach out to Red River Communications. The other thing I want to leave you with, and just like we talked about the white areas inside that purple, were strategically left out, again, just like Carrie indicated, the FCC website. But there are what I'll call fringe areas outside of that purple, kind of all the way around. We are looking at the business analytics to say, where can we pick up just some people that, for no reason of their own, are on the wrong side of a line, so to speak. But we'll commit when we're done. We'll come back and report to you. But you may get calls of wondering why that is. Please direct them to us. It was a grant application, and we did the best we could, because if you start to include locations that are able to get broadband, these are highly competitive, and they find reasons to disqualify you.
On your map here, you're showing that this goes right down to the Wilkin County line. That obviously that's for Clay County purposes, but does the service grant actually go south of the county line at all into Wilkin County?
Not Not per se used to, when you go on the south side of that line, you get into the more of that Wolverton exchange, and those customers are being taken care of. They do have that.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
If there's any other questions on that particular project, we've got some more slides
Yes.
to talk about. We can move on. This one, inside those yellow lines, would be what we called the North Holly Grant. I had been here in the past and spoke of that. We're here to report that that is substantially complete. Just under 70% of the locations within that yellow border did subscribe to our service, and anybody that didn't, there is main line and there is capability for them to hook up when they so choose.
So there's two different colors on your map. You'll notice that there's a yellow, which was served by the Minnesota Deed Border-to-Border Grant. That was a 50-50 funding grant. Then our team, when you start sending letters out to folks and they start to talk, and the guys across the road that weren't included in the grant call us and ask, you're going to be so close, can you please come to me too? So that is where that secondary color came, that dark purple. We call that the fringes. That is areas that we picked up on our own. We had substantial numbers of people would call in groups, communities, little housing developments that are out in that area that requested us to come to them. And we're really pleased that we were able to help serve additional people. So we had the grant area, and then we had what we called the non-grant area. And in that non-grant area, we had close to that 70% take rate also.
You know, what I would leave you with is just that we know there are more people in that Hawley community, and I think you represent that community that unfortunately do not have a fiber connectivity right now, but I'm not sure that there's going to be border-to-border funding with the state of Minnesota. That's kind of unknown right now, as well as just the FCC and the broadband website, whether those people actually show as being lacking broadband, even though the people that are there are going to tell you they don't. So just understand, we know there is still residents of your county in that area that do not have broadband. I don't have a clear roadmap for you at this time. Just the funding mechanisms, just like a lot of things going on right now, there's more questions than there is answers.
I have a question. Sure. If you draw a line from Highway 10 and go north there to the yellow, is most of that area already served with high-speed broadband?
The city of Hawley is covered by two separate companies that brought fiber in.
Yeah.
So within the city limits, yes. There is a few, as you get closer to the yellow where we built, there is a few areas that do not have fiber yet. We have identified through a program called the Minnesota Line Extension Program. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's an additional program that is still being funded through the state. And we have, how many locations, David, did we? Turn your mic on.
We identified 2 locations north of 10 that we would have been able to serve, and then one south.
So we bid on those locations. It was a bidding system. The customers they instigate, saying they fill out the forms with the state, and then the state matches them with a broadband company that can come to them. So we've got a couple of those locations that we're working with the state on. We don't know when that will be awarded or if we will be awarded that. Could there be multiple companies that bid on that? But when we'll identify those, and also the fringe areas, those can be expanded. So just right now, what Tom said, there's just not a lot of funding mechanisms out there right now to help with the projects. So anything larger or more substantial, we would be waiting for another funding mechanism.
Just because I know you represent up in that area, but for any of you, if you have patrons that are lacking broadband, have them call our office so we can help them, whether it's getting them registered with the Minnesota Deed office that can help, or just as we continue to analyze and see what we can make a business plan out of.
Yeah. So the last slide we have here is the Minnesota bead grant. Let me see if I can find the map. So there was 2 locations that we had applied for through, no, this must be something older. The last one we just want to mention is the bead program. Let me see if I can find those maps. Yes, that was,
Through the bead, which we had, you all had given us your letter of support and so on and
yeah,
so forth
that
with
one.
that.
Yep,
There's
that little
there's
guy.
a portion that was north of Hawley there. Again, I kind of call it the Idaho kind of strip that goes up north there. There was somewhere between 10 and 20 customers that had been in there. Unfortunately, our combined application, which part of what you're looking at is down there in Traverse County as well, it was rejected because the cost per loop was too high. So we worked through it for a while, and it just became, those locations have been released from the BEAD grant, is what we're here to tell you. I'm not exactly sure. Again, we're here with more questions and answers as far as funding for that in the future. But we felt that we just owed it to you to come back and report that that application has been, completely dismantled, and those locations have been freed from that application. If we do find continued opportunity for funding, we will come back and keep you apprised of that. But again, if you do hear from constituents out in those areas, encourage them to call. And if there's ever anything that you all want us to come and discuss how we can fix something, just please let us know and we'll come meet with you separate or in this setting here.
Steve's just really excited that you mentioned Traverse County because that's where he grew up.
Is that where you grew up, Steve?
Really? We were excited about that project also when we spoke with their commissioners, and there is some islands, as you can tell on that map, that they need service down there too. This program was not the right fit, apparently.
Yes, Commissioner Kravitz.
Question, this money that for these grants, the money that's for these grants, is it primarily federal money passed through the state, or wasn't the state contributing some to a couple of sessions ago, or?
Good question. Yep. So the USDA Reconnect, the grant that we're telling you that the construction we're going to be taking place here in 2026, that is federal funds, directly from the federal government. The Minnesota Office of Deed does not have any direct involvement in that. Oh. Okay? Mm-hmm. The border-to-border program, which funded the North Hawley grant, and we've done some other things through them, that is a combination of some federal funds as well as just what you indicated. The state had been, prior to the pandemic even, they had been budgeting dollars and putting into this what they call border-to-border program. So in that project that is highlighted right now, that North Hawley, I wouldn't feel comfortable telling you what the match was because I know the state of Minnesota did put some federal funds that they received during the pandemic into that program. Okay. So the best way I would describe it is it was joint.
Yeah, mixed, okay.
Good question.
Yeah.
We do not want to be any part of dragging on, so to speak, your meeting today, but we very much appreciate the relationship. We appreciate the opportunity to come here and visit with you all and the partnership that you have given us of signing letters of support. And if there's ever anything we can do or answer any questions, whether it's myself or my colleagues here, we're more than happy to come and visit with you. And we just want to make sure you're aware as your constituents are getting letters, and if they have any questions or anything, that you guys are properly informed so you can answer any questions or just direct them to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. All right, next we have a presentation regarding food waste composting program for Clay County. And Fred?
Yes.
Good morning, Fred. We'll get you set up with a microphone there.
We are, of course, nearing Christmas, but we're also nearing New Year's Day, a time when we traditionally think about the future and what we can do to make that future better. And in that spirit today, I'm here to urge that you consider Clay County beginning an organic food waste composting program. There are three conclusions that I believe should lead to supports for such a program. First of all, a food waste composting program would provide substantial benefits for the county. The first of those is financial. I work with a group called the Clay County Climate Action Group, and we have been consulted with Corey Bang, who is the solid waste director of the county, and he is strongly in favor of such a program. That's not an interpretation. After we met with him, I checked back with him and asked him if I may quote him to that regard. It's not a quote, but I cite him to that regard.
He's behind you nodding, so, yeah.
So I guess you can ask him personally. My understanding is that up to 30%, perhaps more than 30% of what goes into the landfill is food waste. Getting that out of the stream would mean that the landfill, sanitary landfill would be extended, its lifetime would be extended substantially with financial benefits for the county. Additionally, there would be substantial climate benefits for that. Food waste, when it goes into the landfill, decomposes, I believe they call it anaerobically, without oxygen. That creates a lot of methane. Methane is generally cited as being 28 times worse than carbon dioxide for climate change. And we need to take climate change seriously. There are credible estimates that the Arctic Ocean will be ice-free in the summer of 2027. Not less ice, ice-free. We, of course, do not border the Arctic Ocean or any ocean, but I think there is a common impression that climate change will be an equal increase of temperature across the globe, and that is not correct. There will be a massive destabilization of climate and the climate systems, which will have impacts notably for agriculture and for other such things. So food waste composting at some levels has been said to have a 70% decrease in the amount of methane is produced. With some technologies, it can be as high as 90%. So I think there are substantial benefits for the county. Secondly, this is a proven, tested method. The Glacial Ridge Composting Facility, which services Pope and Douglas counties, has been in operation since 2019. It's up and running. It's successful. It has even had an expansion, showing thus that in this area, not in Texas or in California, but very close to us, such a facility can operate and operate successfully. Thirdly, there are significant financial resources available for the pursuit of such a project. I am not a grant writer myself, but I have been informed by some people that most notably there's the EPA Climate Reduction Implementation Grants, which are being administered by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. They have a program called the Organics Management Infrastructure and Programming Grants, offering a total of $16 million, which has, and I'm quoting here from a webinar that I listened to fund the construction of new waste composting facilities. So I think that's on point. The grants range from $100,000 to $200 million. There is an in-kind or financial match that is necessary for that. I am not myself very knowledgeable what's happening with the MPCA money that's coming from the Budweiser grant, but there is money there available, and it seems to me that's a logical place to consider one way there could be support for such a program. So I think that there is many reasons to believe that we should have organic food waste composting rather in Clay County. Substantial benefits. It's a proven approach, and this is a time when we would get assistance to deal with the financial cost of such a program. I work with this group, the Clay County Climate Action Group. We are very interested in having any questions or informations that the commissioners would like. We would try to find that and provide those for you. So that's the end of what I have to say today. If you have any particular questions, I would be more than happy to address them with my limited knowledge.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mojo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Sternhagen, for your presentation. I'll say that I appreciate the ability for all of us to holistically look at waste differently. We just came from a conference in which we were meeting to strategize how we can address the issues just like you're talking about. And I believe it was 6 or 8 years ago now, we did have a company that moved forward to apply for a permit to do organics or composting rather at the landfill site proper. So it is something that we're looking at, and I think the reality is these things cost lots of money, and so we've been able to realize some savings through looking at trash differently, similar to what we do with the incinerator in Perham, basically eliminating 99% of PFAS there. And so the organics or the composting is the next piece, because we have heard from them that having that material go into the burner is problematic there as well. We're trying to figure out, how do we finance this? Is it through a private-public type partnership issue? Certainly, we are going to have all hands on deck to try to triage what this will cost us. I'm not quite sure if the MPCA route is the best. I appreciate that we're having conversations with Corey on how much it will cost, what we can apply for. When you do receive these grants, oftentimes the matches are huge. We did receive almost $8 million for our resource recovery, but the investment from the county was almost $20 million, so if not more. So appreciate the conversation. I really think that getting the ball rolling on this will be having members of the public be active in finding solutions for us. So I appreciate your group.
Yeah, one of the goals in the state of Minnesota is, of course, zero waste. I think that's a goal of the state. I don't know just how much reality that can really be, but the composting of food waste is. We just had another study done by, an annual study, and you were right. I think it exceeds 30% of what goes into our waste is wasted food. So the composting component of it is one thing, and it would be a good thing. The other component of it is the collection of it. I think the collection of it is where the difficulty lies. I think a really good place to start is, certainly with our restaurants and universities where there's an awful lot of food waste that goes in that regard. That, I think the collection system for that would be easier for us to do. But when you get into residential food waste, I don't know how many containers we're going to be asking our households to be separating things. The more you do that, the more you lose.
You're certainly on point here. And I am not a personal expert on this, but I've consulted with the people at the Glacial Ridge facility, Arthur Pattengale, and I believe it's Stephen Verkota. And they have said that they mostly are working with large spot food waste developers, I guess you wouldn't say producers, I guess would be the word, right? And they've had pretty good buy-in from the large places there, particularly the school districts. It has been so successful that in some of the areas in Pope and Douglas County, those municipalities have started residential collection because there's been so much support. But I think you're correct. It would start with the large point producers of food waste. We've had some contact with the school district and for the universities in town.
And it would be helpful too if we could get additional SCORE funding from the state of Minnesota. That would help us in some of this regard. A lot of people don't realize, but everybody pays a solid waste management tax.
Right.
And it's a significant amount of tax, and what's returned to the counties is very, very minimal. And we've been working for years to see that number raised. I think they collect, Corey, now probably in excess of $100 million a year. And I think the counties receive maybe 17 million. Is that, he's nodding his head, yes? Pretty close to those numbers. So certainly from a county standpoint, being able to get additional dollars from that solid waste management tax to do these types of things would really improve our chances. But I think to Fred, to your concern, I think we'll have Corey bring this up again with our solid waste advisory committee And maybe we can start through our recycling people in solid waste to see what we can start to do with commercial entities to begin with. And then we also have to establish where, if we're gonna do this, where would it go? And then what equipment is needed to do the, organic process.
A lot of work to be done,
Yeah.
but of course, the way you get there is you start. I
Yeah.
see it's 9 o'clock, that's my time. Thank you very much for having me
Thank you,
here
Fred.
today.
Yeah. We will look at it. All right, our next item is a request authorization to issue request for proposals for the 2026 local homeless prevention aid funds.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Yes, I'm here to request precisely that, a motion to issue the RFP for local homeless prevention aid. For 2026, the funding came in at $303,877. Last year's allocation was $303,126, so an increase of $751. Not as much as I would have liked, but it is an increase. To provide some context, this funding was established by the legislature to help local governments ensure that children and families do not experience homelessness. The program focuses on preventing housing instability and assisting families and unaccompanied youth, who are homeless or at risk of homelessness. So with this allocation, the funds must be used to support new or existing homeless prevention and assistance projects within Clay County that meet the requirements. Consistent with prior years and our procurement practices, I'm requesting authorization to release this request for proposals to get applications from eligible community providers. Again, providers must target families with children in pre-K through grade 12 and or unaccompanied youth who lack fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residences. We will score the application similar to prior years and select the candidates. Just to remind this board as well, right now, it's a partnership of 3 community stakeholders that have utilized the local homeless prevention funds. That's CAPLP, Moorhead Public Schools, and Churches United. They kind of wrote together to receive and utilize these funds. Not sure what will happen this year, but it's likely that they'll partner again. If that's the case, I will bring the applications back to this board for approval and contracts. With that, I would yield for any questions.
When I noticed on here, your implementation timeline is January 9th. Does that give enough time for?
I gave everyone that has applied before a heads up prior to this, just saying, hey, I would be bringing it to the board, but heads up that the deadline will be January 9th.
Okay. Commissioner Ebinger.
Yeah, Quinn, there's obviously a lot of concern right now about fraud, and I'm familiar with the process that we use. I'm very comfortable, but could you just address for the public why the concerns you see in some of the fraud, including in the housing process that we've seen in other counties? Just address where we don't have the concerns because.
Sure.
Yeah.
We do great checks and balances on all of our programs. The programs that are specifically targeted are more kind of state-run programs that we administer at the county level. We're seeing things like moratoriums on new licenses, specifically because there's been such an increase. That's not what the local homeless prevention aid is, or the statewide affordable housing aid that's on the next board agenda. So these are completely separate programs and separate funding streams. Along with that, we work really closely with the applicants that are selected, like CAPLP and Moorhead Area Public Schools, to make sure that the budgets that they submit are statutorily, meet the requirements of the statute for these funds. And we check, and we make sure that they're using it when they submit bills to us, that everything lines up.
Very good. I just wanted you to, it's not any lack of confidence that I have on the process. I think that there's a lot of trigger words now that the public gets concerned about, and we need to address them, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Just, yeah, I'm glad you're moving forward with this. We know the funds are all used swiftly, and there's a great need out there to support this and the other programs that we do. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize Clay County Social Services to issue a request for proposals for the 2026 local homeless prevention aid funds in the amount of $303,877 $877.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Kravinoff, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right, then you have one more, Quinn, right? You have-
Yes, I do. Yep, very similar request. This is requesting a motion to authorize an RFP for the statewide affordable housing aid funds. This one I'm happy to report, we did see a little bit more of an increase. 2026's allocation ended up being $81,550, up from $68,698 in 2025, so an increase of $12,852. Statewide affordable housing aid is different than local homeless prevention aid. This was created by the legislature to support affordable housing development and preservation, reduce housing instability, and prevent homelessness. This can be used for a multitude of different reasons, including emergency rental assistance, gap financing, support for nonprofit housing providers, and housing-related operational or supportive costs. So again, I'd be looking at the exact same timeline, issuing the RFP, having it close, scoring the applications, and then bringing that back to this board for final approval. And to maybe refresh your memory, if you don't know, with statewide affordable housing aid, 2025 funds were in a contract with DARA and Clay County HRA to kind of re-up some of their properties to make them safe, include safety measures, and help fund some of the staff at Bright Sky Apartments. That I'd yield for any questions.
Right. First off, I want to thank you for bringing last year's numbers. I think, you know, in the original memo, we didn't see those, but for us, I think it's important to see if there's change in trends of what the state is funding. And so that's very helpful to know that. I'm glad to see this one raise a little bit. Certainly is needed. I guess that's my comment. I don't know if there's any other questions.
I have one comment.
Yeah.
With the one prior, that one looks like it runs through 2028. Is there any dates how long this one will run for?
They're both supposed to sunset. I believe Saha is about 2028 as well. I think there are some conversations about at least trying to get the local homeless prevention aid to not sunset. I don't know where that's at in the legislative process, but yeah, they are supposed to stop eventually.
Yes, Commissioner Ebinger.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to authorize Clay County Social Services to issue a RFP for 2026 statewide affordable housing aid funds in the amount of $81,550.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Ebinger, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you much. I'll see you after the new year to bring these back to you.
And just like that, our engineer showed.
Good morning.
Good morning. Justin, approval of final contract voucher SAP 014-645-002.
Yes, so I'm requesting final approval of the final contract voucher for the project number that you had read. This was a mill and overlay project in the city of Dilworth, kind of the horseshoe that goes by Casey's, south 2 blocks, east, and then goes north again on 7th. Northern Improvement was a contractor, and I think the project turned out really well. Final amount to be approved is $251,668.07. And the reason for the little bit of overrun is there was a little bit more curb and gutter that we had to replace that didn't really know about going into the project. And the overage would be covered by CASA Municipal.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the final contract voucher for SAP 014-645-002 in the amount of $251,668.07.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Mojo. Any further discussion? I have one question on the municipal state aid. Is that a dollar number that, we have a balance in that account?
Yes.
So how long do we have to use that?
So rules recently changed. You used to only be able to carry, I think it was 2 years allotment in there. Now you can carry in surplus of 5. But our balance is sitting well in that account, so we're doing well.
I think that might be a topic of discussion for our 5-year plan.
Yep,
I think in terms of if we're sitting well on those, and those, by the way, are dollars that are designated for small cities, right?
correct. It has to be used in one of our cities.
Yeah, and so I think if we're sitting with good in that fund, we should maybe be talking with our small cities to see what projects they may want to advance sooner than normal, maybe. Construction costs never go down, it seems like, so this might be a good opportunity for us. But if we could take a look at that in our 5-year plan, that'd be great.
Yep, so when I say sitting well in terms of, our allotment is a lot less than the state aid municipal. So I just pulled up 2025. So at the end of the year, we'll have 50 grand in there, so not,
It's not a lot.
yeah.
But I mean, for a small community, getting some of those funds might make a difference in them being able to do a project or not.
And it does obviously have to be used on a CASA route within the small city too. 'Cause, yeah,
Right.
we do have one other project planned, I think it's.
Okay, so if we can maybe take a vote on this.
Yep.
All right, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. And then you want to move into the other one?
Yes.
CP 014-300-002.
Yes, so this was a countywide striping project on everything that kind of our edge line striping contract didn't cover. This project went really well, it went quick, and I think it was a big improvement for a lot of the rural areas. The final amount to be approved is $121,569.26. The reason for the overage on this is we have never done a project of that size striping wise, so we're just guessing off of old plans, so strictly in paint.
Even with that number, even the original number came in way below what we originally had
Correct,
engineer's estimate, right? When we
Yep.
put it out to bid?
correct.
And even that bid share was way under everybody else's bid.
Right.
Sort of lines a lot. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve contract voucher payment CP 014-300-002 in the amount of $121,569.26.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Moschel, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion?
I just want to say, the residents in my area are very appreciative of this because it made a huge difference out there in Greater Clay County.
Yes.
All of Clay.
Especially noticed after our first storm.
Yes.
Definitely.
And is that process going to continue in 2026? Do you have an idea how much you're going to do?
So that's kind of what we're working on right now, is kind of dividing out the county and getting on a regular cycle.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Justin, you have anything else for us today?
That is it.
Roads are in good shape out there?
Very good shape.
All right, weather's cooperating until probably tomorrow night.
Christmas Eve?
Yeah. 10-day actually looks pretty good, so I think our guys are gonna
Thursday, I
get.
think there might get ice, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Justin. All right, next we have a request approval for the voluntary furlough program. Good morning, Anna.
Good morning. Okay, I'm here on 3 separate items this morning. The first one is going to be the 2026 furlough policy. This has been a longstanding policy in Clay County. However, it is subject to review and approval of the county board every year. The furlough policy has saved approximately $56,000 in 2025 as of 2 weeks ago. I don't have the numbers with the most current pay period or the payroll that is ending today. It is subject to department head approval as well, so it's not just available to everyone. It is subject to staffing needs, et cetera. So with that, I will yield for any questions. I should also add, I'm sorry, this did go to PIC last week and was discussed at PIC as well.
I was just going to say that. Was recommended for approval.
I was going to say the same, and Mr. Chair, I'd like to motion to approve the 2026 voluntary furlough program.
I will second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ebinger, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Next, we have the approval of the 2026 meal reimbursement rates.
So this was also discussed at PIC last week and recommended to bring forward the proposed 2026 rates for meals. Remaining unchanged since 2020, breakfast at $15, lunch at $20, and dinner at $30. So if there is no objection to that, I will yield for any questions.
It works as long as we don't eat at the motel or the hotel. I'm just kidding.
I'll make a motion to approve the current meal reimbursement rates of 2026,
Second.
or 2026.
Motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried, and we have the request approval of the 2026 mileage rates.
Yes, so as of last week, the 2026 IRS mileage rates have not been released. However, we are requesting, with suggestion of PIC as well, that if an individual takes their personal vehicle when a fleet vehicle is available, that they would be reimbursed at 50 cents per mile. If a fleet vehicle is not available that they need for work purposes, they would be reimbursed at the IRS rate. We just don't know what that IRS rate is for 2026 yet.
And that's the same policy as before.
That's, yes, that's correct. We just bring that forth every year.
That was recommended by PIC as well.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I'll offer approval of the 2026 mileage reimbursement rates.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, guys.
All right, next we have the request approval of Resolution 2025-38 for setting the minimum salary of the Clay County Sheriff and setting the Clay County Sheriff's salary for 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you may recall, in previous years, generally we have a resolution that establishes the salaries for all elected officials. In election years, state statute requires that we provide the amount that the elected official will be paid, but also what the minimum amount is based on the county action. And so this morning here before we have three resolutions in a row. The first one, as you mentioned, relates to the county attorney. This past board meeting, Mr. Melton came before this board and explained. Oh, excuse me.
I think we want to follow the order. I think the first one is the sheriff.
Oh, sorry. Had my mind
I'm reading my.
mixed up. All right. The first item we had, the item is we had Sheriff Empting was before the board last week and explaining the reasonings for proposed salary increase. The board did bring a motion forward to approve that request. And so as we discussed last week, we would be bringing that resolution forward here today. And so with that, Mr. Chair, I would yield for any questions.
All right, any questions? Questions? Yes.
I do, a little bit. So how does that, from what we did last week, how does that work for the minimum salary? I don't quite understand the correlation.
So Mr. Chair, members of the commission, you had received an email from Darren, I believe, last week that laid out a county grid for elected salaries. And while both the county attorney and the sheriff were at the end of their grid, Darren has kept up the grid each year with the COLAs that this board has provided. and that the minimum is the step one
Following that.
of that grid.
Okay, thank you.
Based on what we did last week, the current salary would still be adjusted as the top of the step system, right?
So, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, this, with the adjustment last week, this would go up and above, over and above step 12, because it was not the next step for the sheriff to receive that funding. He was already at the end of the budget, and therefore the board took action to go above.
I guess my question, let me rephrase it then. So are we how many steps are there in this?
There are 12, Mr. Chair.
So if this is approved, does that new amount become the step 12 number?
My understanding it does not.
I think what I did was the new step number would be, the step 12 would be the high wage of the sheriff and the attorney. Because if somebody was going to be run for those two positions, that would be the highest that we would pay for that position. So I think I was just trying to pull it up to remember what I did, but I think what I did was added that percentage onto the last step, which would be the step 12.
So it's a new.
That
step
makes sense.
12.
So that does become a new step 12 amount. Is that correct?
Yes.
I just wanted to be clear on that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going, we didn't readjust the grid to put him on something less than step 12.
No.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure of that. Any further discussion? Yes, Paul,
Yeah.
did that answer?
So if you don't mind,
No.
I'll go back on that. So Darren, if that's the new step 12, then does that affect step 1?
No. Step 1 would remain step 1 because every year I adjust the grid to the percentage that's been approved by the board for the two elected officials. So the step 1 would stay the same. The step 12, which was now approved at a higher rate, I added that 14 and 13% to that step 12. So that would be the
So then it
higher
becomes,
wage.
so then it becomes a big leap from 11 to 12?
Yes. Unless you want to do it differently.
I'm okay with it, but I just want to make sure that minimum number doesn't get too high.
Yeah, the minimum has been adjusted according to the COLAs throughout. This is actually the first year that I've been involved where the electeds had a higher COLA than the rest of the employees.
Yep.
And so I just added that COLA to the step 12. Now, you could say, let's do the COLA for step 12, and then both the attorneys and the sheriff would be above the grid. But I'm not sure how that then interacts with somebody that is maybe looking to run, and they're trying to figure out how much their wage would be next year. It's a little confusing.
Just a clarification on when you mentioned that the electeds would be above. It's the elected in terms of the sheriff and with the county attorney,
Correct.
not the county commissioners.
Correct.
Okay.
I just,
We are elected.
I just added the, yes, that's correct. I just added the 4% to the commissioners.
Yeah, so, and again, I think both the sheriff and our county attorney last week really explained quite well, and it's probably hard in a news article to be able to really bring all of that information out that, that we used in making our decision. There's compression issues and all those other types of things that we have to follow that unions require us to deal with, and, so there's an awful lot of things that come into play on those rates. But, in terms of the my time on this board, when it comes to the sheriff and the county attorney being newly elected, when I say new, coming in, and I saw two, I guess, seen two in the sheriff's with being with Mr. Berquist and then Mr. Empting, that when they were hired, typically they're not going to be hired at step one. You know, but again, I think anybody who was to go to run for those positions needs to understand that the final decision on that compensation is done by the board at that time. And that the board at that time has the ability to go anywhere from step 1 to step 12 is that new higher number.
Yes, that's correct.
So just to, you know, I mean, so somebody who would run, could potentially run for those positions need to understand that.
Yeah, so that, like Commissioner Kramahow said, the step between step 11 and 12 is greater than what the normal COLA would be.
All right, well, that answers my question on the grid part anyway. Yeah, Commissioner Ettinger?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-38, setting the minimum Clay County Sheriff's salary at $137,364. Resolution also sets County Sheriff Mark Empting's salary for 2026 at $184,678.21.
I will second that.
We have a motion, a motion by Commissioner Ettinger, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, we'll then move, oh, excuse me, yes, Commissioner.
Thank you. I was not able to attend last week, and so I appreciate the dialogue and the presentation from both our county attorney and our county sheriff. And just from someone who lives in the rural area of Clay County, we had a pretty substantial fire at our house a few years ago. And while waiting for the fire department, the sheriff was the first on scene to help mitigate the damage, what was going on. And Mark serves in that capacity to all residents of Clay County. It had nothing to do with the fact that I was a commissioner. He had seen and heard what was going on and was first to respond. And so I am really grateful in a time when, you know, public safety is really challenging, that Mark is there to serve Clay County.
All right, next we have the request approval for resolution 2025-39 for setting the minimum salary for the Clay County attorney and establishing the Clay County attorney's salary for 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. This is essentially the same format that we just discussed with the sheriff. The resolution 25-39 would set the minimum county attorney's salary at $155,640 and setting Mr. Melton's salary for 2026 at $203,542.25. With that, I'd yield for any questions.
All right, any comments?
I feel like I heard a different number. Say your last number again.
$203,542.25.
Maybe you're at 184.
We got,
My resolution, and
are you looking at item number 12?
that's all. Yeah. Okay, I'm looking at the back.
The back also shows that same number.
The very last, they match, both the front and back match at 203.
I think what he's saying is that, does that match the number discussed last week?
Oh,
I think that's what he's saying.
I think the back of this, the way they printed out, the back of this is still referring to the sheriff. If you look at page 61 of 70, I think is what we're looking at now.
Okay. Okay, so I'm with you. Thank you.
again, I just want to, again, point out, you know, that this, in the terms of the county attorneys, there was some action that was taken at the state level that really increased the salaries of public defenders throughout the state of Minnesota. And these were significant increases in salaries. And when that happened, of course, one of the things that we like to do is we like to retain our county attorneys here in Clay County. And with those types of numbers, we were seeing some activity where some of our county attorneys were willing to move into those public defender positions because of that increased salary. And so, you know, there's times when we have to make decisions based on you know, being able to keep our staff and being competitive, that we have to make those adjustments. And so when we made those increases, then you heard me mention the word compression before, and the compression comes in that says that there has to be a difference in wages between a supervisory position to somebody below that, and go on and on throughout and up. And so some of these things that, when it comes to the chief deputies or chief assistant county attorneys, those really, it required those changes to be made too, because of just the process. And then ultimately up to the county attorneys. And you talk about workload. The workload in the county attorney's office has certainly not gone down in my time on this board. And when you look at the docket and you look at the court proceedings that go on, they're full. And in almost all those cases, there's somebody from the county attorney's office in those courtrooms. And so there's an awful lot of work being done. So I think some of us had probably received more calls regarding these salary adjustments than anything else that we've had there. And once we're able to explain those reasonings, I think the public certainly was more comfortable with it. So, but I just wanted to put that out there. Commissioner Ebringer.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just to reiterate what you're saying, kind of add to it. I've had the good luck of working with Mr. Melton just about the entire time I was chief of police. And in that time, I watched the size of his staff, the caseload, as we've seen in this community, the demand on the criminal justice system expand. And we're at the point now with the salaries that we've got to keep the talented people we've got on board. If we don't, these homicide cases, these sexual assault cases, some of the most serious cases we have, you don't come on board in 3 years out of law school handle one of those cases. We have to have people on there who are really competent, and we do. And Mr. Melton has been diligent in getting them the salaries they deserve, particularly the chief deputy county attorneys. And in doing that, it has caused compression. And there was one set of numbers I saw that offered Mr. Melton more money than this, and he chose to back down and not take a raise larger than what his people underneath him got. And I think that showed a concern about the budget as well as concern for the people he's got on board. So having said that, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-39, setting the minimum county attorney's salary at $155,640 and setting Clay County Attorney Brian Melton's salary at $203,542.25 for 2026.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Ebringer and a second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you. Also want to speak to this. We're seeing some substantial challenges in our community, and I maintain that this is still a really safe place to raise a family. To that, last week there was a substantial amount of fentanyl pills found at the middle school in which my child goes to school. And part of what we're seeing in the community is how do we deal with some of these issues from juvenile all the way to adults? And Brian and his staff are at every table about how do we deal with things in non-severe issues, or how do we kind of do these diversion type programs all the way up to the hardened crimes that we're seeing as well. And leadership comes from the top, and I really do appreciate, Mr. Melton, all of the work that you do to help all of us deal with the issues that we are dealing with. The other piece is there are counties throughout the state, we're all electeds, and there are counties around the state in which the sheriff and county attorney and county boards do not have healthy relationships in terms of working relationships. Obviously, we have to respond to the people, and we're all subject to elections, but what I will tell the community is both Mr. Melton and Mr. Empting work in such a great way with the county board, and how do we address the needs of our community as fiscally responsibly as we can, but also making sure that we are staffing your departments in a really great way. And so that's not lost on me, the relationship that we all have. I appreciate that it's a constant work, and that we continue to put the time in on that, so thank you for that. And the last piece is too, this is not just setting these two individuals' salaries. It is. But as elections happen, we're setting minimum and maximums for the positions. And I think it's really important that the community knows that. Thank you.
Thank you. So Darren, again, going back, so the 203, 542, 25, that will become the new step 12.
Correct. I mean,
As we discussed.
yeah, I did it for both
Okay.
sheriff and attorney.
And I would like to just echo what Commissioner Mojo just said. Certainly in my time on this county board and with all the commissions that we've worked with, Clay County, we support our law enforcement. And we always have, and we think it's important that we always do, for the variety of reasons that Commissioner Moser just said, plus many others. And along with supporting that, we need to also support our county attorney's office, and our county board continues to do that. And, you know, Commissioner Ebinger brought up some of the significant issues that do go on. There are serious crimes within our communities. And every day, when those deputies or the sheriff goes out there, they're not going out there and these people aren't out there playing with water guns. There's some serious things going on out there, and there's serious risk that's involved. And we certainly support the efforts of our law enforcement and our county attorneys. So, as Commissioner Mojo said, there's some counties in Minnesota where that, you know, that support might not be to the degree that we do. But any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Okay, then we have the request approval for resolution 2025-40 for establishing the Clay County Commissioner's salary and per diem for 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As been the practice in Clay County, when the board makes a decision on the COLA for our employees, that COLA is also provided to the position of the county commissioners. The 4% was approved last week, which takes the salary to $40,822.51. In addition to that, the PIC committee also discussed the per diem amount appointed assignment committees, which you guys will be discussing again next week, and then finalizing those again for 2026, the first meeting of the year. That per diem is at $100 per meeting, with a maximum of $100 per day, with the understanding that most days you have more than one meeting. And so with that, I would look for approval of resolution 2025-40, establishing the county commissioner's salary for 2026 at $40,822.51, and setting the per diem at $100 for appointed committee assignments and other board approved meetings. With that, I'd yield for any questions.
Any further discussion? You notice there's no grid, step 1 to step 12.
That would be the voters. That's our grid.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 2025-40 as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Kravinoff, seconded by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion?
I have one comment. I don't know if we should be taking that COLA bump this year, if we've asked all our staff not to bring anything to us that was dire important, so we wouldn't bring up that levy. I think we should keep the COLA the same as last year and not take that 4%.
Any further discussion? So that would require an amendment to the motion.
I'll make that, can I make that, can I, yeah.
You certainly can.
Can I make that amendment to the motion?
And, yeah, so you would have to specify what percent you want that.
A 0% increase on commissioner's salary from 2026, for 2026.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Is there a second on the amendment? Seeing none, the amendment fails.
Mr. Chair.
We're back to the original motion, or you cut?
Thank you. If I might, we are not in the business of public service to get rich. It's not what drives us. It's not the measures of success that any of us see. But we also do have the responsibility to acknowledge that this work takes a substantial amount of time. And I think as this board, the presence and the people sitting in these chairs revolve and new people come into these chairs, I think it's important that we acknowledge that people need to be paid fairly for their time. I think that, this many weeks is over a full-time job, time capacity, and I think that in order to continue to raise up great people that can be good leaders for the county, it's important for people to be able to be sustaining financially in order to put the time in. It's important to acknowledge that so that you can continue to have varied voices around these tables. So I appreciate Mr. Bear bringing up that motion. I think it's really important. We also will realize if you do wage studies in future years that you will have to likely have adjustments to see what other to align with what other commissioners make around the state. I will say that Clay County is lower across the state than what other county commissioners are making. Certainly not why we're doing this. I think we will be able to realize some savings in other ways that will likely help keep that cost down.
Any other comments? Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign?
Was there a motion?
Oh, I
Aye.
think there was a motion.
All,
Okay,
Yep.
but I don't know
Yep.
if there's
Yeah,
a,
my
Commissioner
motion.
Kravinoff and
okay, good,
Commissioner Ebinger.
Second.
And then yeah.
got it.
We're voting on the original motion.
Thank you.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same?
aye.
Motion carried. All right, next we have review Lakes and Prairies Community Action Rural Bus Transportation Funding for 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This board has previously worked with CAPLP in providing funding for the senior transportation program in prior budgets. During our budget planning discussions this year, as a board, you faced numerous competing priorities and difficulties in making funding decisions. And after careful consideration, the CAPLP Rural Routes Senior Program was removed from the 2026 proposed budget. At the Truth and Taxation meeting this past week, we had several residents that came forward and expressed concern with discontinuing the funding of this program. And so at the end of Truth and Taxation, the board chair asked that this topic be brought up today for further discussion. And we have both Lori and Robin here from CAPLP today if you have any questions. But with that, I would turn it over to the board for discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Larson. So, yeah, as he mentioned at the Truth and Taxation hearing, this was brought up by a few residents, and I think it's important, transportation in the rural areas for our elderly is critically important. And I think when the county was put in the position to have to make tough choices, we were seeing ride numbers that were low compared to the investment. And I think the board had taken the position that paying, for example, $250 or $300 per ride was just not sustainable. I mean, so we need to look at some other ways. Having said that, I think the conversation that was brought up at that meeting, and I also liked hearing now the new partnership that you have now with REACH. I think might really be a positive component in helping with some of that those rural transportation needs and maybe a better plan. But I talked with Steve, and I would like to see us reinstate that number into 2026 without readjusting our levy. I think we can still do that without readjusting our levy. And if need be, if we have to, I think there's still room within our reserves where we can do a one-time deal and to fund that in 2026 with the idea in mind, and certainly the folks from Lakes and Prairies can come up and talk to us about it, but really trying to come up with a plan that improves that price per ride. For lack, I think that's really important, I think, because we don't want to see that. I don't want to see that service lost, and I don't think any of the commissioners up here do either. So I think that's was my suggestion, that we reinstate those funds into 2026 without having to make that adjustment to the levy. Commissioner Ebringer, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just wanted to make a couple observations. I serve on the CAPLP Seniors Committee and on Dancing Skies Area Agency for Aging. And when you look at rural Minnesota, one of the critical needs that we've got to keep people in their homes, keep them healthy, is transportation. As we all know, it's difficult to get around, particularly this time of year. And that's only aggravated for senior citizens. This is a work in progress, I think. The new partnership will contribute towards facilitating what our rural seniors need to stay at home. But this is a good start, and I think it's money well invested. The breakdown on cost per ride needs to be addressed. And I think with the partnership and some innovative thinking, that can be worked on. But right now, as we heard from the young lady last week, she and her sister are trying to keep mom going twice a week to dialysis. And they're working and trying to take care of their families. That's the critical position so many people are put in. And here in the metro area, we've got senior rides. We have things we can address this with. We need to maintain something for our rural folks. And if there's a better way to do it, we need to figure it out. But right now, I think the funding for a year is a good investment.
Commissioner Kravenoff.
I don't know if you want them to talk first, or...
Well, I can get your thoughts, and then we can
Okay,
certainly...
thank you. All right.
I mean, if we're going to fund them, maybe they don't...
Yeah.
I have questions.
All right. Well, I know
what you wish for,
I know
yeah.
everything they're going to say, right? I've spent hours on this, and in conversation, looking at their budget, looking at how we can grow this program. And again, when we started talking to Reach 3 months ago, 4 months ago, this was right at the very beginning. And to the points that have already been made, I'll add to that. There's socialization, there's senior living rides, there's just so many things beyond medicine that this is a vital need. And you know, and again, it is to think of someone, whether they're in Felton or Holly or Barnesville, I mean, it's a wide scope and it is a little more expensive. I think the program's well under $250 a ride, but the development of that will be more efficient all the time, and the ridership. The main thing for the money which we're sharing, this isn't all on us. This is a $80,000 budget. You know, they're using their CSPG grants to help make this work. I lost my thought here. Anyway, the continuum where we can take this and grow it is, I don't have any doubts about it. We've been supporting this for the last 5 years. I think we need to continue on with our effort, and I think it's for CAP in the future, starting this year, to be able to improve upon that and be able to come back and show that they are moving in the right direction. The last comment I'll make, with the taking on at Reach, it isn't for sure, but more than likely this bus now would be out in Holly, finding people in the Holly area to help within that outer community if it can all work that way. So anyway, I appreciate the thought of continuing this, and certainly I would be supporting it.
Yes, Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Krabanoff. You have really worked hard on this. I serve on CAPLP with Commissioner Krabanoff. And so we've talked a lot to CAPLP on how do we get creative with funding? How do we find partnerships? When the original request came through, those partnerships were not identified. And I appreciate you bringing forward the fact that there is a reduction in levy request, because you understand times are tough, but we also understand that these are our most vulnerable seniors throughout Clay County that really are isolated. We talk a lot about making sure, wanting folks to be able to stay in their homes because the price of assisted living is so astronomical. I think when we bring Reach to the table, we will identify a pool of users, a ridership that we haven't been able to identify. My hope is that we'll continue to get creative. But you need to understand, in a time of when federal funding is so unknown and so many cuts are happening at different levels, CAPLP has identified in their community assessment that this is a pocket of individuals that we really need to figure out how we maintain their ability to get to their caretakers, to get to dialysis. These are not just Walmart shopping trips. These are life-changing medical appointments to have that availability. I appreciate bringing this forward in a different way.
I think there can be an awful lot of dialogue moving forward. I know we have some other areas in our social services where we also have, because the gentleman from Reach that was here on the Truth and Taxation night, you know, he brought up the fact that how many volunteer drivers they have in the Reach program. That's a significant deal, and in social services and some other areas, we also have volunteer drivers. And one of the things when we talk about volunteer drivers, we do have a stipend for them, and I think it's a really good investment. And you know, and so I think in this whole process, when we start looking at how we're revamping this, maybe when I say a stipend, it's not very much, you know, on an hourly basis, but maybe taking a look at how we pay volunteer drivers. That could really help out, bringing that price from $250 a ride down to something else. you can even still do that by having volunteer drivers being paid a stipend. So that's just one of many things, as Commissioner Mojo just talked about and Commissioner Krabnoff talked about. But I certainly think that we should take this, put that levy, or put that dollar amount back into the budget for 2026, and let CAPLP and REACH study this and come back to us with some options then that could better work for 2027. CAPLP, anything to say?
Hi, everybody. I really don't have anything to add, I guess, after Commissioner Krabnoff and Commissioner Mojo spoke, other than we so appreciate you allowing us back here and that you're reconsidering the ask. You know, we've, like Commissioner Krabnoff said, this has been around 5 years now, and I completely understand being cautious with this. I know that there has been so many different factors that have been played into, you know, not being able to grow the ridership where we want it to be, but I truly feel that this acquisition of REACH and us becoming one entity will enhance and expand the ridership. I really do. We have some other in-house things in play that I again think that is going to make this program so much stronger, and that just really has to do with staffing. That's an internal thing, but we have 2 veteran staff that have been on with us, one for 26 years and the other for the past 5 years, and they're super strong. And I really think with our becoming one with REACH and having 2 very strong veteran staff on, that are going to be able to build up the relationships with the seniors in rural Clay County. This is that's a population that we serve that is extremely important, that they feel comfortable with us and that they feel comfortable with the driver and have a relationship. And this is the year we're going to be able to do it.
Well, excellent. So anyway, I guess for the board, you know, my suggestion would be that we reinstate the requested funding for 2026 and to take those dollars out of reserves for 2026 while we review moving forward beyond that.
Mr. Chair, are you talking the 42,000 number?
Yes, that was the number.
Updated request?
Yeah, 42,583.50.
Mr. Chair, I'll offer a motion to reinstate the request of $42,583.50 to the 2026 budget, understanding it would not come with levy dollars.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Lori's probably thinking, where am I going to get this reserve money from? But she'll figure it out. All right, any further discussion on, and I'm talking about Lori Johnson.
Oh. Lori's like, wait, what?
All right, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carried. All right, you're
Thank you.
good to go. Make your plans.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, we're going to take a break.
Yeah.
All right, we are back in session. Our next item is the request approval for Resolution 2025-41 for adopting the Clay County final levy and budget for 2026. Mr. Larson.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, again, Commissioners. Again, today, as you mentioned, is an important day as you consider establishing the 2026 budget and the levy. Establishing the establishing the levy provides the maximum amount this board can ask each of our citizens to provide. Early on this year, we knew that this budget process would be a little bit different. We went to our board, to our departments, and encouraging them to look keenly at their budgets and minimize any requests. As always, look for different ways to adjust. We reached out to our non-county entities that provide levy funding and requested them, asked them to look at their budgets. Many of them decreased their budgets as they came forward with their requests. With that, we started our budget process in May. Our department heads presented their budgets to Ms. Johnson. Ultimately, those came before the county administrator, auditor, treasurer, and then before this board. This board provided multiple scenarios and situations where you provided direction and feedback in looking at our budgets. On September 16th, we established a preliminary levy at 6.46%. Immediately after that vote, this board came back and asked our county personnel to look at their budgets with the understanding that you would not be satisfied with that figure at establishing the final budget. We had several meetings with our board. We had meetings on a weekly basis, providing updates. Our departments all had ongoing discussions throughout this process. And last week, after the Truth and Taxation presentation, the updated levy amount was 4.4%. That was brought forward to this board. After the board actions and one final review, what you have before you this morning is with a minor adjustment, is a levy proposal of 4.35%. Just to keep in mind for our citizens, this board was faced with many challenges. We knew some of them were coming. We knew there were a number of them that we were not aware, and this board was nimble and adjusted as we went through this process. And to kind of put this in perspective, there are many boards that are wrestling with 8, 9, in some cases double figure, not preliminaries, but final levies that have been established. And through this board's direction and leadership, if you were to set the levy at 4.35%, that would actually be a 0.10% lower than what you agreed to last year. And so with that, I'd yield for any questions. If there are no questions, what I would be looking for is to take two motions. One on the levy of $47,284,559, and then establishing the total budget, which is $128,981,062. And again, with that, I'd yield for any questions.
Any questions? Questions?
Just a comment. This is my first budget to go through on this board. And we started out with a 6.46, and we got it down to a 4.34. I had a number in my head where I wanted to hit, and we got very close to that. But to get to that number that I had in my head, I don't know if we could get there without actually cutting real things. I think we've cut everything out of this budget that we possibly can. So I'm in favor of this 4.35. It's not where I wanted it to be, but I think we got as close as we can get to my number. So I'm in favor of this 4.35 budget increase.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Mojo.
Okay. I concur with what Commissioner Bear is talking about. I would argue rather we were in double-digit estimates in early February, March, May. In my time on the board, I don't recall a time in which we thought, based on what the pressures and the shifts from the state would offer to us, would result in levies of double-digit increases. I think this has been a budget cycle that I've not experienced on this board, and know that there's been some real serious conversations internally about where are areas where we can cut, where can't we cut because of mandated pieces, but what are the services that our residents are not willing to see reductions in. So to be at this point today is the result of many, many conversations and hard work, specifically with you, Mr. Larson, and with Lori Johnson as well. Really grateful for your work on this. I will say, we have our work cut out for us at the state and national level to talk about the pressures that are happening on local entities that are just not sustainable anymore. 27 is going to be a huge challenge, but I'm really grateful for the work that this entire board has shown to say we're willing to make those trips to go to the tables that we need to talk about those issues. So I know that's down the road, but I am really grateful that we've been able to realize some wage adjustments for employees, but also making sure that we're continuing to stripe the roads that need to be striped and work on the road projects to keep our public safety or our road infrastructure safe. To that, there's a lot of good that comes out of the work in this budget. Thank you.
Commissioner Ebinger.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I really appreciate the comments made by Commissioner Bear. He came in, he had something set in his mind. And when we first heard the initial figures, it was 12% and change. When you looked at everything our staff asked for. We met every meeting, which is something the chair wanted us to do this time. I think that was extremely beneficial. It gave us an idea to see how this thing unfolded. And what we saw, for the most part, and I'm proud of this commission for the diligence we put into this, but we have a staff and we have department directors who really honestly took a look at where they could make cuts and really diligently supported those things that we didn't want to cut because it'd be detrimental to the public, or we would be losing more money than we're saving with cuts. This was a well-thought-out activity here in setting the levy, and I think it was a team effort. And I don't think it could get any lower without, as Commissioner Bear pointed out, without hurting things that we don't want to hurt. So having said that, I'm going to we need two different motions.
Make the first one by yourself. Make the first one, and then we'll make a second one.
Okay.
If you could start with the full budget,
The 400 or 47,
or the 128 million.
okay. 128, 981.62. Yep. I'd like to, and is that going to be part of Resolution 2025-41?
That is not. That's a separate resolution, deals only with the levy.
So I will just make a motion to approve the full budget for Clay County for 2006 of $128,981.62.
$62.
Repeat the number.
Let me find it, because my notes are wrong.
$128,981.62. Oh, I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
$128,981,062.
Correct.
All right, that's your motion to approve that?
Yes.
All right, do we have a second? We have a motion by Commissioner Ebinger, second by Commissioner Krabanoff. Any further discussion? And I just want to point out that 128,981 is different than our levy. And the reason that that's different is that 128 million is a total dollar amount that money that goes through Clay County. The difference between the levy and that are funds that we get from other sources such as the state and federal government. Just in case there's somebody questioning why those are two different numbers. All right, any further discussion?
Just to clarify, you did say 2026.
2026.
Okay, all right. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Krabbenhoft,
Aye.
Commissioner Mojo,
Aye.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes,
Commissioner Bear,
Aye.
Commissioner Ebinger.
Aye.
motion carried. All right, and then we have the 2025-41, adopting the final levy and budget, or the final levy.
I'll make that motion.
All All right, we have a motion adopting the Resolution 2025-41, adopting the 2026 Clay County final levy. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Aber, second by Commissioner Krabbenhoft, and I just want to, under comments, I just want to mention that since the preliminary levy, for the first time, I did ask that this be a standing item on every agenda from that point on. In the past, in past years, I've been very frustrated that we'd set the preliminary levy, and there really got to be no discussion until December. And what I felt important was by having that on every weekly agenda, it allowed any commissioner at any point in time or our administration to come before us offering suggestions that could be different than what the preliminary levy was set at. So I think that obviously I think has helped a little bit. I do want to mention Commissioner Mojo talked about on her time period on here. I go back a little bit longer than Commissioner Mojo, and I can recall the time frame of around 2008, 2009, where we had some very difficult times to the point where I think we had back-to-back years where we had zero COLAs for our employees. And that is not good either. But again, I think the difference between what we're seeing today and back then it was economic conditions. I think today what we're seeing is more political decisions that are being made at state and federal levels that impact the county. And I'm thankful for, and I'll always stand up for our county employees. I think they do a good job. They're 80% of our budget, and they are the face of what we do and the services that Commissioner Mojo talked about that we provide in all sorts of different aspects. So I'm thankful that we're able to continue on and not be in a position where we could not offer COLAs to our employees. I think that, and I think Commissioner Bear, you're satisfied with these numbers in your first budget. So that being said,
I just wanted to make a couple of comments too. Thank you for your leadership, that you helped us through this, because I agree bringing this forward, if not every week, most every week along the way. I think it helped helped me personally stretch my mind around a little bit, because I didn't think it would get this low either. And I think we did, in this process, treat our employees the best we could. The other thing, I do want to go back to a quick comment made about the departments. Each of these weeks that came through, you could see the departments working with each other in ways that they could be more efficient. And we saw some moves between public health, social services, detox. There were a number of places that it made a difference. And, whether it was 50,000 or 200,000, I mean, these were differences that really added up. And I just appreciate everybody involved for, I think, good, healthy conversations. Sometimes a little hard, but at the same time, a very unified process here that came together at the end. So, thank you.
all right, any other discussion on the motion? Any other discussion? Sarah, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Krabbenhoft,
Aye.
Commissioner Mojo,
Aye.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Bear,
Aye.
Commissioner Ebbinger.
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, thank you, Steve. Thank you for the work that you've done, and Lori, and to all of our department heads that were involved with doing what they can to keep that levy as low as possible, so.
It was,
All right.
Must have been a rough budget cycle, because Lori started it not being in a sling and ends it in a sling. Sorry, a little levity. Yeah, a little levity.
Yeah, I'm walking with a real gimp.
You always had a game.
Oh, yeah. All right, committee reports. I'm going to start again today with Commissioner Bear.
I had 2 committees I was at, both of them on December 17th. The first one was up in Crookston with West Central Regional Water District, where we had a meeting with MDH, and we got them up to speed on the project and where we stand on that project with the court systems, and just making sure we're all on the same page for when we do go in front of the judge the second time, hopefully by February, March. So when we send out all those mailers, the 19,000 mailers that we'll have to send out for the whole district, that if they get any phone calls, we're all on the same page. It was a very good meeting up there. And then I went down to Moorhead, where we met with, we had a update meeting for the White Earth Casino, technical discussion down at the Yumcom Center, where we had everybody but White Earth there, and we had an update on how that process is going. It's going very slow on our end because we're waiting for more information from the tribe. And that's about all that was discussed there. So if anything else, Commissioner Campbell was also at that meeting, so if he wants to add anything, he can. And those were my 2 committee reports.
Thank you, Commissioner Ebinger.
Thank you. On the 17th, I attended, which was Wednesday, I attended the EDC, Greater Fargo Moorhead EDC board meeting. Had a review of the dashboard there on projects and document-ready sites. Discussed the retreat that had been on the previous day, which I had not been at because we had truth and taxation. The governance committee is working and on reorienting the governance of the EDC. They have a agency group that's going to look at feedback that came up during that retreat. They had an I-28 update, talked about the joint leadership that they've got and some areas they need to focus on that. And they had an action item that came out of that, which was to extend board nomination process. It's taken longer to put together, and we are not going to have a restructure and a selection of board members until the end of the first quarter, which would be March 14th. Some other discussions about document-ready sites and Macara site, and some goals. And then we voted on the budget, which passed, and that was the end of that meeting. On the 18th, I attended the Rethink Mental Health and Substance Misuse Coalition meeting, attended it virtually. Annabelle Default presented homeless issues and public health and churches united work that's being done together. She had a really good presentation on harm reduction efforts that are made here in Clay County. And some of the money that's being used from the opioid settlement, and she covered that. Then Karen Nazowski had a presentation on coping skills, basically just some things that you need to do as you work with people. Later that day, on the 18th, I'm slow here because I didn't bring my notes. Okay, later that day, I attended Moorhead Diversion, or the Metro Diversion Authority Board of Authority meeting. We had a 2025 video review of the programs that, or the projects that have been completed this year. Had discussion on P3 settlements, recap of the statement of principles we had in the settlement with them, and passed the 2026 cash budget of $1,100,000,000. Oh my gosh, Kevin, what was that number? $1,168,000
That would be 1,168,000,000.
million, $93,807.
Pocket change.
Yeah. What did that figure out per week?
$3.5 million per day.
Per day. My God, it's scary to have a budget like that. Anyway, it did pass, and I think things are looking good. The end is in sight. And we have one more spring to sweat it out, and then we're gonna have flood protection. And a lot of effort has gone into that, so very gratifying that that happened. And then after that, I attended the Lake Agassiz Library Executive Board meeting. And basically, we called it because we had one policy that we determined was out of kilter with state law, and we made the change to the meal and rest break policy, and that passed. So when you're running operations that are open for 6 hours a day, sometimes it's kind of hard to get people's breaks in there, but they figured out how to do it. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Krabanoff.
Yeah, I had just 2 meetings. They were both on December 18th. One Commissioner Ebinger has already brought up, the Rethink Mental Health and Substance Misuse meeting. Again, Annabelle did a great job on the opioid presentation, working along with Churches United. And then I'll just touch Karen Niskorski on the main thing that they were doing was in their work, the strategies that this group have, they were just mainly sharing well-being practices that work in their profession. And it was pretty in-depth reviewing of that program. After that, I did have my monthly meeting with HRA, and very glad to see what Quinn came forward with today for new proposals. I'm guessing that HRA will be involved in both of those. And things right now, as he mentioned on the one, on the housing aids, the security system, different things that they've been able to do there to some of their properties. They're now really being able to have better operations run without disruption, better tenants. The vacancies are as low as they've been in a number of years. So the budget's looking better and better for them all the time, and things are just improving overall. So they were happy to end the year on such a good note. So with that, that's what I had.
Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I need to go back a couple weeks. I attended the AMC conference with all of you. Grateful for the opportunity to network and work at a statewide level. I appreciate the opportunity. Board of Directors meeting met before the conference. We did discuss the legislative priorities that we'd be pushing forward. Obviously, you all reported on that last week, big issues there. I attended the candidate canvassing meeting. MRC had a great update. Really helpful when we can get some legislators in there, hear their insight, especially insightful when they don't necessarily represent all of the rural counties, so it's important for them to hear that dialogue. Did have the Environment and Natural Resources Policy Committee meetings, pretty heavy on solid waste issues. That continues as the citizen brought forward today. Continues to be something that counties are grappling with. How is the best, most effective way to deal with these issues? Understanding constraints, but getting creative there. And then had a lot of different policy amendments. I heard that you talked about that last week. Had the opportunity, was invited to present with our administrator and Commissioner Ebinger at the Public Safety Policy Committee on our juvenile detention project. Exciting to see that out of that conversation, we've had additional memorandums of support from other counties. I believe Benton County was the most recent on that. had a meeting with the governor's office about the projects, and then attended breakout sessions on solid waste mitigation, the act, mental health, succession planning, and additional pieces. And then really appreciate the opportunity to serve over the next year as second vice president of the organization. I think it will be really helpful to Clay County to advance issues that we're seeing on this side of the state, the conversations not only in St. Paul, but also DC. And then I had a meeting with Judge Rosenfeld on our drug or specialty courts. I appreciate her insight and excitement about that. The next day had a FM West Fargo Chamber Public Policy Committee meeting. Appreciate that Kale's here today, including Clay County's priorities as the legislative priorities as well. To that meeting, I attended the Clay County County Extension Committee meeting. We did have a long discussion on focus and scheduling over the next year. We do have openings to that committee. It would be really exciting to fill those openings with folks that have experience understanding what the work of extension is in Clay County, but also statewide, so more to come on that. And attended the Clay County Leaders Roundtable that was hosted by the Chamber at Concordia. Really great insight from all of the different organizations and entities that were part of that dialogue as we move into the legislature, a legislative session, but also challenges, making sure that we're communicating with businesses on what will go into effect January 1st. So thank you to the Chamber for your leadership in that regard. And I attended the Prairie Lake Solid Waste Committee meeting that Commissioner Campbell reported on. That day I also attended the FMDA Land Management Committee meeting. We followed that meeting up with the MCC JPA meeting. The following day, I talked about a couple, one, the litigation and property acquisition updates, and then the excess land recommendations that had been talked about at the meeting the day before. Approved reimbursement requests, the contracting actions for the MCC JPA, and then BNS easement agreement. And if you know anything about entities that are difficult to work with, the railroads are one. So huge gratitude for the conclusion and securing that easement agreement. And then the farmland leases were approved. And I'm trying to hurry, sorry. MetroCog meeting that afternoon as well. Great reports and studies going on. We had the reports from them at the meeting prior, and then Commissioner Bear had requested that they come in and have a presentation in January. They're working on that. Non-secure juvenile detention legislative strategy meeting, the flood mitigation funding strategy meeting, and yesterday I attended the Lakeland Mental Health Center Board of Directors. We had a Finance Committee meeting to approve the 2026 budget that we moved forward. Again, no new dollars from Clay County or the other counties are being requested. Did look at our strategic planning process and key performance indicators. We're given the fact that paid family will go in January 1st, it's really hard to understand where access numbers will be because their margins are so tied to staffing level, particularly at those high doctor level positions. So it's really hard and challenging to kind of pinpoint that. I think we've got the best case scenario on that, budgeting in a 3% margin. And then they are working on addressing urgent care options. So as we've talked about, mental health doesn't always understand a 9 to 5 work day. And so they are going to do some piloting in Otter Tail County on available urgent care psychiatry options. And I think that concludes my reports. Thank you.
All right, thank you. On December 17th, I attended the Prairie Lakes Municipal Solid Waste meeting in Perham. The action that we did take from a financial standpoint, our budget was in good shape, so we did authorize the annual reimbursement payment to Otter Tail County in the amount of $175,000 towards the loan that they had provided for us when we had shortfalls. We also approved the putting the $250,000 budgeted into the internal service fund. We authorized that transaction to occur. And then we did authorize $160,000 for the ash disposal for the project that happened in Ottertail County, right along by, or outside of Wadena County. So that basically is the cost that we had for the tons of ash that we took from our ash landfill and provided into the road system. We had to pay for that. Of course, that's probably cheaper than, I think was even brought up earlier about how costly it is to maintain landfills. And our ash landfill is no different. And that after those things, we should end up with a cash balance somewhere in the area of $620,000, and that compares to $676 at the end of 2024. So we're very, very close. We also intend to use about 8,000 tons of ash for the Becker County Road project in 2026. By doing that, it also saves about 2 years worth of, close to 2 years worth of life of the ash landfill. I think the ash landfill, we send about 5,000 to 6,000 tons per year into that ash landfill. And of course, if you recall in my previous updates, that landfill is going to, without these activities that we're currently doing, would have been full in 2027. Which I've also been pushing for us to make sure that we continue with Plan B, which is allowing for the expansion of that ash landfill, and that permit process, for those of you who don't know, can take up to 10 years. And so we're behind the eight ball in that regard, but we're trying to do what we can to reduce what's going into that and putting it on our roads. And by the way, MnDOT is really researching this as a real potential for use of that in roads throughout the state. Then on the 17th, I also came back and I attended the meeting regarding White Earth. I think Commissioner Bear gave a good report on that. I don't have anything to add. That afternoon, we also had our Land Management Committee meeting for the Diversion Authority. Commissioner Mojo talked about that, and I really don't have anything more to add to that. The 18th, I also attended the Morehead-Clay County Joint Powers, and we did have some contracting actions and a reimbursement request that we approved, and some farmland leases that we authorized for 2026. On the 18th, we had the Diversion Board of Authority meeting. Commissioner Ebinger mentioned that big dollar number in terms of our 2026 budget. And when you talk about $1 billion being paid out in 2026, you got to remember that this has been a project that's been going on for several years. And the way the contract worked is that the developers pretty much upfronted most of the money in terms of the construction project. And what happened was they had to meet milestones, and then they'd get the milestone payments. And so in 2025, we had some milestone payments came up, but the majority of them are going to happen in 2026. And that's why that, it may seem like it's a lot in 1 year, but it's basically paying the contractors for all the work that they've done from the beginning on that. So that's why that number is so big. So $3.5 million a day is what it boils down to for this flood protection. And then on Friday, the 19th, I did attend the meeting with the Public Policy Committee, Chamber Policy Committee meeting where, and I want to thank Cale and Jason Benson for their efforts in making sure that we're staying on top of the legislative needs that we have for the county and Morehead in terms of what remains to be in flood funding that we need to aggressively pursue. And with that, that concludes my report. Steve, do you have?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 17th, Darren and our labor attorney continue with union negotiations, so participated in several conversations. That afternoon, participated in the White Earth Nation update, which has been well covered. On the 18th, I met with Dan Molly and Brandon Lunick on a series of shared issues. On the 18th, also participated in MCC JPA meeting, which has been addressed. On the 19th, the Strive Committee met. This board has supported the NACO High Performance Leadership program for the last 2 years. Just to report, we've had 26 staff that have now completed that program. And so we're looking to offer that again. Our goal, of course, would be to have all leadership, supervisors, department heads, and future leaders look to participate in that. We talked about having our interdepartmental retreat. I think I sent out an email to each of you looking at a tentative date of April 24th. And so if that works for you, we will move forward with that. On the 19th, I had my regional MACA meeting in Fergus Falls. The majority of our time was spent on budgets, paid family medical leave, and other legislative impacts that we're going to face in 26. And lastly, just for our citizens' awareness, normally we don't meet on our 5th Tuesday, but with the end of the year and for our Auditor Treasurer's Office, we are going to be having a board meeting next Tuesday. That concludes my report.
All right, Brian? Darren?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the 16th, I had Truth and Taxation as well. On the 17th, Steve mentioned that we had lieutenants and sergeants negotiations. Those are moving ahead slowly. I also had a meeting with Human Resources and the Auditor Treasurer to discuss preparations for the paid leave starting on January 1st. On the 18th, I had a meeting with MCCC, and then we had a breakout group for counties that are considering the private vendor for Minnesota paid leave. So that was a very informative and good conversation we had with other counties that are in the same boat as we are with the private vendor. On the 19th, Steve covered the Strive meeting, which I attended as well, had a brief PRTF meeting, and then on the 22nd, just basically started some end-of-year tasks after the the last payroll was closed on Monday.
That it? Okay. Sarah, do you have anything? Okay. All right, I pardon me?
Merry Christmas.
Oh, Mary, okay. I did want to point out that I did receive a letter from the Minnesota DNR regarding the completed water study that was presented to us here. I gave that information to Steve, to pass along to Matt and to Brian, and maybe to Mark Sloan. And then, so if any of you want to review that, you can certainly get a copy of that from Steve. With that, I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Hope all of your holidays are great, and stay warm. Hopefully we're ice-free, and we'll see you all on the 5th Tuesday of the month.